The beginning of this story takes place in an area notorious for its impassability and danger. The owner of these lands is the Beretti family. They are now ruled by Duke Fellio Boreati. Since childhood, he has two unique qualities. The first adorns it, and the second one is disfiguring. His family called him the Black Beast. He possessed such ferocity that he could kill with just a glance. In any case, his advantage was his appearance. Raven-colored hair, piercing black eyes, a pointed nose and plump lips of a pale shade. He traveled to the capital with his advisor, where he finished his work and is preparing to return to the north. Suddenly, the Duke ordered the counselor to adopt the child. The advisor did not believe it and thought that the Duke was joking. But Fellio was serious. This order was the beginning of a misunderstanding. The Duke arrived at an orphanage in the east. A cozy place, he thought. A girl was brought into the hall. But as soon as the little girl saw his cold oppressive gaze, tears rolled down her cheeks. The Duke ordered the child to be taken away. He was unhappy that the event was taking so long. "You ordered the child to be found for you," the counselor said. "And yet," he added, "this is your record. For the 5th orphanage in a row, every child is crying looking at you." The advisor hesitated on the spot. He looked at Fellio. "Why do you need a child?" he thought. The Duke plunged into memories. The other day, a friend's son started talking. "Nowadays," he says, "it's such a blessing to see your child babble daddy." Of course, he took care of his younger brother, but children are something else. Beretti snorted. "You seriously don't understand," a friend asked. "It's time for you to get married." "When you die," the Duke replied sarcastically. The same expressed a desire to be friends and raise children together. The Duke and the counselor met with all the children of this orphanage, with all 18 children. "The Duke ordered us to go to the next shelter." The counselor nodded. "You'd better get married, my lord," he thought. They both went out to the carriage. The Duke was hailed by an old man. He apologized for not being able to help with the selection of a child for adoption. "The children," he says, "are really beautiful and kind, and I'm afraid that the kids will not be able to live in comfort in such cold times." The advisor noticed a clear sliminess in the old man's behavior. He is clearly asking for the Duke's support, but judging by the condition of the premises, they are not going to do anything. Suddenly, everyone was interrupted by a child's scream. Not far away, the caretaker of the orphanage tried to take the girl away, but she kicked and screamed, "Let go, let go." In an instant, she bit the man and escaped from his clutches. The Duke stood in her way. Giving her a haughty look, he expected another bout of baby crying. The girl looked straight into his eyes.
"Hey!"
she shouted. Fellio did not expect such a performance. No one expected it. Everyone stood in a stupor. The girl looked incredibly similar to the gentleman, with the same dark eyes and hair. I'm sorry," the old man chattered, "we'll get rid of her now." Fellio stopped him. "This child was not on the list," the advisor noted. The old man mumbled. "This child has no manners. She is constantly making scandals." The advisor pierced the old man with a look. They dared to ignore his lordship's order. They were told to see all the children from the orphanage. The old man swallowed. The caretakers of the shelter fell to the ground. I'm sorry," they started yelling. The girl stood motionless as she was asked a question. "What is your name?" the Duke asked. The baby cut it off, "No." After a while, she answered anyway. Her name was Nia, but she didn't like that name. Fearless, Fellio thought. "You know whose path you dared to block," he threatened majestically. The girl tensed. "Of course," the gentleman said sarcastically, "this name does not suit you." He thought for a minute and continued. Leone Bariotti. That's your name now, Fellio said. He picked up the girl in his arms and lifted her into the air. We should call a tutor when we get back to the estate, he added. She was taken aback. And she started kicking. Duke, the counselor cried out. Hey, are you having so much fun bullying a kid? The girl was squeaking. Much more fun than I thought, the gentleman grinned. Pervert, the girl screamed, pervert. The advisor, approaching the hall, did not understand anything. Count Canis Line. He was one of the few who sincerely befriended and communicated with Duke Boreati. Duke Boretti looked like a snowy mountain, and Count Line looked like a warm field. When the Count had time, he devoted it to his child. I saw a lot of families on the street that day. They all looked happy. It was fun, Fellio said. And that's why you adopted me, Leone muttered. The Duke nodded. It's usually not like that. They don't have children on the advice of a friend, you're not friends with your head at all, the girl was indignant. The newly minted father looked at her, you are the only one who talks to me in that tone and is still alive. Isn't that what you wanted? That's why you ran out to me. Leone agreed dejectedly. It was like a game to her. She never thought that luck would be on her side. She had a request. She said that the old man and the caregivers had appropriated all the money of the orphanage. It seems to be true, the Duke chuckled. They abused their authority, she continued. They are even now in touch with the pimp. They sold my big sister. Help me punish them, she begged. Not Teacher Coney, she took care of us. Fellio remembered and described a woman with brown hair and a broken finger. Isn't she the only one who cared about you? The little girl agreed. Director beat us when he was drunk, she added. The wounds on my back were from his blows, and another teacher left a bruise on my arm. Punish them, please. I want them to suffer. The Duke thought about it. Your Grace, the counselor said. Stay here, Rupi, Fellio ordered. What, he exclaimed. It's dirty here, it wouldn't hurt to clean up, don't leave any dust, Rupi, the gentleman added. Leone chimed in, if you're going to clean up, use a leather belt, don't forget about their arms and backs, also put their heads in a bucket of water and thoroughly wash the floors. Let them all forget about their nasty business, the girl screamed, everyone except Connie. She was kind to us. An interesting girl, the Duke thought. The carriage moved off. Evening. Duke Fellio and baby Leone were still on the road. It was getting colder. There was a knock on the carriage window. A knight was standing outside the window. She apologized for the sudden stop and offered the hosts to spend the night at the hotel, because it was late and everyone was tired of the long drive. The girl said that everything was fine, but no one listened to her. It's decided, they're spending the night. She will have a good rest here. The gentleman thought and looked at the baby. Madame Labives, the Duke said. When Leone is strong enough, get ready to leave. The knight nodded. Suddenly, a squeak was heard from the girl's side and the sound of commotion filled the silence around. A second later, Leone was already in her father's arms. A little more and she would have broken something. Hey, the little girl was indignant, don't grab me so abruptly. The knight was taken aback by the fact that the master knelt down. And he immediately looked at her, ordering her to take care of the child. Before eating, you need to warm up, he added. The knight introduced herself to the girl. Labives Melees, but you can just Melees. Leone admired the knight, wow, that's so cool. The baby's back was torn. Does she look that bad? The girl drooped. I wish my scars would heal soon, she continued. Because the wounds have reopened, I wake up at night. Madam, close your eyes, the knight asked. Don't worry about the damage, madam. If you eat well and rest, they will heal very quickly. My younger brother took a healing ointment with him, I will apply more to your abrasions after bathing. Little brother? Yes, he's clumsy, so he's always getting hurt. Ta damn. Leone was washed and dressed like a real snow princess. She was so pleased with the smell after bathing. No matter how much you bathe, Babaika will not change, the Duke added haughtily. They started a verbal altercation. No one had ever talked to him like that in his life, and for Fellio Leone she became an all in the ass. The knight chuckled contentedly. It was night, the baby was already asleep. Fellio looked more thoughtful than usual. Melees reported on the observations. Her injuries, the girl began, turned out to be much more serious than we expected. Judging by Leonier's words, the torture at the shelter continued for quite a long time. She is very small and frail for her age. The children at the orphanage must not have been eating properly. The Duke said to send a message to the orphanage. Those who have ever raised a hand against children should be taken to the estate. He will personally punish them. The next day. The little Duchess seems to be wearing such beautiful clothes for the first time. And she looks great, as the knight said. Fellio, on the other hand, was teasing her, saying that at least now she looked like a human being. Leone was offended, couldn't he compliment her, he was her father now. He, in turn, is not used to throwing compliments around, and she does not call him her father. If you want to be praised, he said, gain weight. Melees wanted to check the carriage as the other knights approached. Everything is ready for departure. They noticed that something had happened. It turns out that she is worried that the Duke is behaving strangely towards his daughter. But why should it bother? It will take some time to prepare for departure, so you can take a walk for now. What was it, the knights thought? Baby Leone had a hearty meal today. So much so that she felt unwell. Very. She did not want to spoil the expensive clean carriage, but the Duke cooled her down. Now she is a member of the Boreati family, this carriage is dust for their family. While she's worried, they've already earned enough money to buy another one. The girl beamed with joy. And really, money is the best thing that can happen to a person. They say that to be happy, you need to have not only money, but also a rich inner world. Nonsense. They agree, the poor say that, they think that with the help of good deeds you can get closer to God. It's a pleasure doing business with you, partner, the girl said in a businesslike way. The Duke was busy with the shopping list, but he heard her words. She's pretty smart. Melis appeared outside the window. The girls got along. And Fellio realized that his daughter needed a knight to guard her. The child needs an etiquette teacher, a maid and a guard. And Melees is an excellent candidate. Leone, my father asked, have you ever used a magic gate? Oops. The gate, what is it? The girl asked. Magic gates are like a tunnel, they can be used to travel great distances. The girl went completely limp. The Duke had never seen anyone get so sick from motion sickness. He took off his cape and wrapped it around Leone. I patted her on the back and she began to fall asleep. Still looks like a goblin. The Order of the Knights of Glastigo is the protection and support of the North. They have served the Boreati Duchy for many years. The faithful dogs of the man nicknamed the Black Beast. Yes. The Black Beast. This scene is definitely beautiful, but it looks scary for the knights. Perhaps it's time to go. This is the first time Leone has seen such beauty. Compared to the capital, these are, of course, trifles. But how would the little Duchess know that, she had never been there. There's a lot of snow here. There is snow on Boreates lands until spring. The baby liked the cold. Meanwhile, they returned home. There was a fuss in the yard. The maid greeted the gentleman, but then a little girl jumped out of the carriage instead of him. Leonie had never seen such a huge house either. Suddenly, she began to rise into the air. Fellio picked her up in his arms. Everyone greeted them. The little Duchess did not like this formality. Leone was already feeling good. "Daddy," the girl said, "I like your breasts." Having entered the hall, the little girl began to look at the palace. Incredibly beautiful. It looks like an illustration for a dark story. "How did you find out?" Fellio started playing along. "There's a prison in the basement, do you want to see it?" The staff was shocked by their dialogue. The head butler, Kara, invited the hosts to rest after the trip. The Duke ordered architects and artisans to be invited, because there is no suitable place for a child in the house. Baby Leonie introduced herself. Fellio reminded her that the name he gave her was much longer. "How can you introduce yourself without using your last name?" The little Duchess shivered. "My name is Leone Baretti," she said. And the father was pleased. Kara, the head butler, stared at this beautiful incomprehensible scene. And anyway, she realized that it would be very noisy here in the near future.